at the world-famous Madame Tussauds. And then they say no.
And then you find out that Theresa May has one.
Oh.
Yes, so Madame Tussauds... There's Theresa May. There she is in her suit.
Yeah,
she was always one for colourful outfits,
Theresa May has a waxwork there, so does Boris Johnson, of course. It's reasonable to expect the Prime Minister would have thought that he would join the likes of David Cameron, Theresa May and Boris Johnson with a waxwork.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill has one. Harold Macmillan, apparently, was previously displayed. Tony Blair.
Of course.
Tony Blair, of course. But apparently, so Madame Tussauds can't be sure that he'll still be relevant in 5 years' time. That's the reason.
Is that why they've said it? No.
They can't be sure, so they don't want to put the money into it, presumably.
Wow.
I could imagine Keir Starmer commissioning his own.
And yet, Lord Salisbury had a waxwork, the Marquis of Salisbury, Harold Macmillan and David Lloyd George, of course. But the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland...
Think about this.
...does not have a waxwork because he's not relevant.
A spokesperson told the Metro, "We have no current plans to make a figure of the British Prime Minister."
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. It's 9:30 on Tuesday, the 1st of July, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Morning. So, welfare rebellion. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but it is crunch time today for the Prime Minister. 50 Labour MPs, as far as we know, are set to vote against the welfare bill today.
And who'd have thought it? The BBC boss Tim Davie was actually at Glastonbury Festival when Bob Villan, is that his real name, chanted death, death, death to the Israeli Defence Force and left the performers online for a whole 5 hours. Can he hang on?
Breaking news this morning. 20,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel so far this year. Guess how much higher that is than the same point last year? 50% higher.
And royal finances. The royal train, which was loved by the Queen, is to be scrapped in a cost-saving measure. The King will instead use 2 helicopters that use sustainable fuel.
Yes, the first time since Queen Victoria's reign we're not going to have a royal train. All of the royal finances public. Find out shortly how much of your money is spent funding the monarchy.
And cash ISAs might be cut. Watch out for your savings. The Chancellor is considering slashing your annual tax-free cash cap. What would that mean for all of us?
Another tax rise. And veterans are having a very well-deserved day out. We're checking on one of our favourite charities, the Taxi Charity for military veterans who are taking some of our heroes to the coast to enjoy that fabulous good weather.
And this is funny. Norway, they've had a big lottery blunder. Thousands of Norwegians' dreams were dashed. They were told in error that they had won huge sums of money by text message. On the screen there is Ole Fredrik Sveen, who thought he'd won £90,000. Instead, it was only £9.
I just think that's hilarious. I can't stop laughing about it. I know it's terrible. Now, it's a scorcher. Parts of the United Kingdom are going to hit 36 degrees, and we're going to tell you what it is in Fahrenheit, because I'm old-fashioned. When we've worked it out, it's making Britain hotter than Barbados. Enjoy it, but do put your sunblock on.
This is one of those days when you're going to hear the stories handled in a very different way than you get on any other channel, particularly the weather. Because I am so sick of hearing all the other news outlets and all the media, oh, it's awful, stay at home, just be careful,
I know.
Drink water, as if you're all idiots.
Yeah.
You're not, we're celebrating.
Don't walk your dog too far. Your dog wouldn't walk too far, it would just fuse.
Oh, Andrew,
it's crazy.
Sports days cancelled across the country this week. I am incensed about that. If we're living in a country which is supposed to be getting hotter every year, teach the kids. Wear a hat, put your sun cream on, drink some water, stay in the shade. It's not difficult.
And we still don't think it's going to hit the temperatures of 1976 when I was doing my GCSE mocks. We had to do them. There was no, oh, you poor darlings, you can't do. We got on with it.
Exactly. This is the thing. We're going to create a generation of kids who, as soon as the sun comes out, say, oh, well, I better sit in my bedroom and play with my screen then, because that's what they taught me to do at school, is not go out in the sunny weather. Are you with us? gbnews.com/your say. Very busy show. First, though, your news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 9:30, the top story. MPs will vote tonight on Labour's welfare reform bill. Dozens are threatening to rebel, even though the government slashed its savings targets. Disability campaigners warn 150,000 people could fall into poverty. Energy bills drop £11 for 21 million households across the country under Ofgem's new price cap, but experts warn they may rise again by winter. Charities are urging families to consider fixed deals. The royal train is gone, the end of the line for a tradition that began with Queen Victoria. Campaigners argue the £86 million sovereign grant is outdated. They say the system needs to change. Elon Musk has slammed Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, calling it utterly insane and vowed to oust supporters. But the president's fired back, accusing Elon Musk of owing his wealth to government subsidies. A girl has been rescued after plunging from a Disney cruise ship. Her father jumped in after her. Crew members saved them within minutes. And the heat wave continues. Parts of the UK could see 36 degrees today, hotter than Barbados. The southeast will bear the brunt, with an amber heat health alert extended across more regions. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning. Welcome to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev, live across the United Kingdom until midday.
So the Prime Minister is now battling what is thought to be the largest revolt of his premiership, which, remember, is not even 1 year old. That happens on Saturday. Many Labour MPs have accused him of betraying promises on welfare reform.
So there's 50 MPs today. Of course, it was about 120, wasn't it, originally? Well, they're poised...
130, I think, actually.
Was it that many in the end?
Yeah.
They're poised to still defy the whip and vote down the bill, joining forces with the Conservatives and the Reform UK party.
It will get through.
Do you think?
But I tell you what's historic. If it were to be defeated, it'd be the first time since 1986 when a bill is killed on what they call second reading. That bill in 1986 was the Sunday Trading Act. Thatcher brought it forward. She was very reluctant about it because she thought Sunday should be special. It was killed stone dead on second reading, and then they had to bring it back. So I think it will go through today, because normally you get major changes to bills at what they call the committee stage. But let's speak to the Labour MP for Chipping Barnet, Dan Tomlinson. Dan, are you one of those MPs who is willing now to stick your neck above the parapet and vote against this?
I should say it's a very warm parapet out here today. I heard you talking about the sunshine. I wish I had some sun cream before coming to talk to you today. But I am going to be supporting the bill today. I think last week you were discussing on your programme all the conversations that were happening between Labour MPs on the backbenchers, the chairs of the select committees and Downing Street, and they have found a way forward now. The person who signed the main amendment last week, Meg Hillier, she's the chair of the Treasury Select Committee, one of the most senior backbench MPs. She said last week that she thinks this is a good package and that she's able to support it, and I hope that the vast majority of the Parliamentary Labour Party will be walking through the lobbies with the Prime Minister today so that we can start this process of reforming our welfare system and do lots of the good things that we want to do to support people into work. We've said we'll put over £1 billion into the job centres to help people with those conversations, to help them find a job that works for them, and there's lots of other positive changes that we're planning as well. For example, we don't want to put people through reassessments who have a sickness or a health condition or a disability that we know isn't going to get better, whereas at the moment they're put through reassessments time and time again, which is really stressful and isn't necessary and isn't right.
OK, can you explain to me what is the point of Sir Stephen Timmings, the Work and Pensions Minister, doing an inquiry into these benefits if the inquiry will conclude after these changes have come into effect? What is the point?
So there's two separate things. So the bill, which is before us today in the House of Commons, which, as you were mentioning, actually the government will be amending in committee stage to take account of all of the discussions that were happening last week. That bill makes some specific changes around the criteria, and quite narrow changes. So there are, not to get too much into the detail, but I think that's really important so people aren't scared and concerned about what's coming down the track. There are 10 different descriptors within the PIP assessment, so 10 different criteria, and we've said that to be able to qualify for PIP in the future, people that don't currently get it, they have to receive at least 4 points in one of those. That will be the change that will come in from late next year. And then alongside that, at the same time, Sir Stephen Timms, who's been working on these issues, as you all know, for decades, he was the chair of the DWP Select Committee in the last Parliament, he'll be looking at what broader changes can we make to these criteria so they're fit for the future. And look, welfare policy changes to social security, are really knotty. They're really difficult. This is not a simple thing to do for the long term, and that's why Stephen Timms has been given this task, this important task, of working with those organisations and those groups that represent and support people with disabilities in order that we can find a way to reform the system for the long term too.
The chairman of the Work and Pensions Committee, Dan, you will know your colleague Debbie Abrahams, Labour MP. She says she can't do this because she said it's illusory, and that there's still going to be a 2-tier or even 3-tier system. So new claimants of PIPs will be treated differently to people at the moment. Isn't she right? And she's rather deeply immersed in the detail of this, perhaps more so than you are.
Well, there are lots of experts in Parliament who've worked on lots of these issues over many years. Before I was an MP, I worked in the Treasury for a time. I worked at an organisation called the Resolution Foundation, where I did lots of work into this. And actually, I grew up in a family that relied on benefits in the social security system. It was my mum and my sister and I. We were homeless for a time as kids, and I know how important the social security system is for people, both people with disabilities and ill health, and people who are struggling with their finances and their situation in other ways. That's why I think it is so important that we start this process of reforming the system so that it's financially sustainable for the long term, and so that people who need our support, who we all want to make sure have the protection from the state that they need when they fall on hard times or get ill or develop a disability, so that the system is there for them. And let me go to your question on the design of the system. It's really, really commonplace. You'll know this. It's really commonplace for when changes to benefits or taxes or even student loans happen, that the people who are currently on the system keep that system, and then a new system is introduced over time. It happened with the state pension. It actually happened with the move from disability living allowance to PIP. It happened when they put tuition fees up from £3,000 to £9,000. That's a way of changing our systems so that people who are already receiving benefits or are interacting with the government in some way don't suddenly lose out. And that was the decision that was reached last week because of the engagement between Number 10 and the government and colleagues on the backbenches.
Dan,
what engagement?
Do you think there are too many people on benefits in this country?
I think that we have to be really clear about what's been happening in recent decades, well, recent years, is that the number of people who are receiving PIP and who are in the health element of the universal credit system has been going up and up and up. And this is not good for people who are locked out of the support that they need. For example, if we talk about the universal credit system and the health element of that system, under the Tories it was designed so that if you receive that amount, it's called limited capability for work-related activity, quite wordy, LCWRA, you effectively get told by the government and by the DWP that you're not fit for work, you're not able to work, and then the DWP just basically ignores you and says, here's some financial support, but goodbye. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, because we don't want people to receive those labels. We want people to receive support and help and engagement so that they can move into work, so that they can get the help that they need from the state, and so that they can be able to receive the benefits that come from the well-being, the interaction with colleagues in the workplace. I do think that that's really important, and I'm sure many of the people who are watching your programme today do too.
But I'm not sure you can have it both ways, Dan. I'm not sure you can say to people, here we go, here's a load of money, we're going to give you taxpayers' money, a little handout, and you're going to have to go and get a job. Because where's the incentive to go and get a job if they are being fairly well rewarded for sitting at home and doing nothing?
Well, look, we do have to make sure that we have a social security system that protects people in this country. As I was talking about, you know, my childhood, my mum and my sister and I, we had very, very little money to get by on, but it was enough, and the tax credit system that was there in years gone by was there for us when we needed it. It's important to have that safety net for people, and at the same time, you've got to have a job centre and a DWP that works with and listens to people. At the moment, if you turn up at the job centre because you're interested in work, you'll probably have a 10-minute appointment, it'll be a tick box exercise, you'll be told to go and send off a few CVs, and that'll be it. We want to change that around. We want to make sure that people get personalised support, that they get engagement from a work coach who actually thinks about them and their needs and the way in which we can help them find a job that works for them. And crucially, we've got to make sure that employers come with us too. There's a review that Liz Kendall is commissioned, so we can think about how we can get employers to do more to help take on people with disabilities and ill health, which is really crucial too.
Can I ask you, Dan, there are 9.5 million people in this country described as economically inactive. They're on benefits. Do you genuinely believe all of those 9.5 million are incapable of work? Because isn't that where your reforms of the welfare system should be targeted, rather than at disabled people who are trying to get to work?
Well, lots of those people, I believe, in the 9.5 million will be pensioners, and I think it's right that people who are pensioners can have stability in their retirement. And then if you look at the people who are receiving either sickness or incapacity benefits, the government has surveyed them and asked them, you know, would you like to work in the future? Is it something you're interested in doing? And a whole load of them say, yes, I would, if I had the right support, if I had the right engagement. And that's what we're trying to provide too, alongside this bill, because you can't just leave people and abandon them as the previous government did. You've got to find a way to support those people that need help.
I don't think they abandoned them. I think they were incredibly generous as well. But listen, we want to move on just to another topic, Dan, while we've got you, and we really appreciate your time this morning. I think you've put up a very good defence, actually.
It's very warm here.
Don't worry, you can sweat it out, mate. Don't go anywhere. You're going to be fine. We're not going to be much longer with you. Tim Davie, Director General of the BBC. He was at Glastonbury at the weekend. There's all this furore about this bloke on stage talking about death to the IDF.
He was there at the same day, same afternoon.
He may have been in the, who knows, he might have been in the hospitality tent, not hearing it going out. I've been to these events. These dignitaries, you know, sort of swan around. He wasn't necessarily in the mosh pit, was he, shouting along with him, saying death to the IDF. But does Tim Davie have to make a statement at the very least now, or should he resign?
I think that right now, I understand what's been happening today and yesterday is that the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, who I think was really strong and clear on this in the House of Commons yesterday, I'm sure that you and your viewers saw that. She's been talking with the BBC, she's been talking with Tim Davie. I think that we do need to look really carefully at what happened here. The language that was used on that stage was unacceptable, and it's not right that it was broadcast. And I hope that the government and the BBC can have some really constructive conversations. And the most important thing is that this doesn't happen again, and we don't see that hate broadcast by our national broadcaster in the future.
But music has always been a space for anarchy, for rebellion, whether it was punk or rock or hip hop or rap. That's what music does. We need art to challenge, don't we?
I think that art can challenge us in lots of different ways. I'm sure that people watching your news programme are challenged by the information and the entertainment that you provide as well. But there is a line, and there's a role for the national broadcaster as well in the things that it puts out. You know, it had lots of choice about the acts that it chose to show. I think it was the wrong decision to broadcast some of the words that that act was saying, and I hope that the BBC, the Culture Secretary, the government can make sure that we don't end up in a situation where that is broadcast again.
All right, that's Dan Tomlinson. So much for joining us. The Labour MP for Chipping Barnet.
Go and get some
Thanks
shade.
very much. Yeah. Put your sunblock on. God's sake.
I'm going to go and find some shade. Thank you very much.
Put some sunblock on. Factor 50.
Thank you, Dan.
Very interesting. Now, Tim Davie was actually there on Saturday afternoon and was told about this wretched man and said to get it off iPlayer, but wasn't told he could take it off of live stream.
I feel differently about this story. I listened to GB News most of the day yesterday, and I was sort of frustrated not to be on the telly.
But I don't think he should be fired.
Who, Tim?
Yeah.
No, of course he shouldn't. I don't think he should be. Tim Davie has said he made on the claims that Tim Davie made the decision to keep Bob Villan on iPlayer. A BBC spokesperson has told GB News.
This is categorically untrue. The DG was informed of the incident after the performance, and at that point, he was clear it should not feature in any of the Glastonbury coverage. There we are. Up next, find out why the Royal Train is going to be taken out of service by 2027 and what mode of transport will replace it. In search of some holiday sun, well, there's quite a lot of it around, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. You may be going on holiday in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at what's happening in Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave continues across western and central parts of continental Europe, temperatures widely reaching the mid-30s, and this is likely to trigger some quite severe thunderstorms at times, particularly across Spain, northern parts of Italy, parts of Switzerland. This could bring some quite intense hail, frequent lightning and also some gusty winds. But across southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece, it should remain mostly settled. Plenty of intense sunshine continuing as we head into the weekend, and temperatures widely remaining in the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
On this day, 4 years ago, GB News was born, launching our first live broadcast on June 13th, 2021. Let's take a look back at some of our earlier memories.
If you've just switched on, a very warm welcome to you. I am Alistair Stewart, and until 3 p.m. this afternoon, I'll be keeping you company, along with friends and, I hope, friendly guests. I hope you'd agree that we've had a strong hour of debate and discussion so far, but there's lots more still to come. GB News is all about you, our viewers. Any burning questions or stories that you think we need to cover, no matter how big or small, we really do want to hear from you.
Well, we can now speak with former GB News presenter Alistair Stewart. Alistair, thank you so much for joining me. Thinking back to 4 years ago, what did you think the channel's prospects were? Did you think it would be a success?
I did. Thank you so much for having me on, and a very happy birthday to you, one of the many brilliant faces, as we call it in the trade, presenting programmes, but also to the absolutely wonderful team of technicians that you've got behind you, making sure that this all gets on air very smoothly. And we've not only hung on in there, but we've now got GB News Radio as well. Online, we're huge. We get quite good numbers on viewing, very, very good numbers on listening, well ahead some of the other competitors. I do remember when Murdoch launched Talk, there were quite a few people in the newsroom who were nervous, not because they were so good, but because Murdoch had so much more money than we did. We've seen them off. They're virtually dead in the water now, and we are thriving, celebrating 4 years of triumphal and brilliant journalism.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Public money used to fund the monarchy for the last financial year has been revealed, costing £86 million.
This comes as the King approves a plan to decommission the royal train by 2027. I didn't know we even still had a royal train. Let's speak now to GBNews' royal correspondent Cameron Walker, who can explain all. Cameron.
Good morning. Yes, the royal finances have been revealed. So let's take a look at how the royal family is funded. The King owns this big portfolio of lands and property and the seabed around the United Kingdom worth over £1 billion. And the King surrenders all of those profits back to the Treasury. So the government can spend what it likes on it, but a percentage of those profits goes back to the King in the form of the sovereign grant. And the King then spends that money on funding the official duties of the monarchy, so official travel, staff salaries, the upkeep of royal palaces. Last year it was worth just over £86 million a year. It's been pretty stationary for the last 4 years, but it is going to go up next year because of the resurfacing programme of Buckingham Palace. But what the public money sovereign grant doesn't cover is what's going to be shown to you very shortly. I'm going to tell you about it as well. So the security of the royal family. We also have the policing of official events, the crash barriers that local governments have to put up. All of that money is still public money, but that is not part of the sovereign grants. That's funded separately, and that figure is still secret. But, Andrew and Bev, I think the big headline of this morning is the fact that the royal train is being cut, being scrapped. It's the first time since Queen Victoria's reign that we have not had a royal train, which I suppose for train enthusiasts is quite upsetting, but it is costing a lot of money.
They missed a big chance with the royal train. When Her Majesty the Queen died, they should have brought her down from Scotland, Balmoral, in that royal train. It could have stopped at station after station after station. People would have got to see the coffin, touch the train. I think that would have been a wonderful last use for it.
And do you know what, Andrew? Operation Unicorn, which was taking the coffin from Scotland to London, that was the original plan. It was going to be in the royal train, but they decided last minute to take her back in an RAF C-17 via RAF Norfolk. And that's
she
what
loved
happened.
that train. And
She did.
Her last journey in the train, and I would have then said it's decommissioned from now on.
And the King himself had a carriage put in 1986, which he still uses, but there are only 2 trips last financial year, both of which cost over £20,000. One of them cost over £40,000. What we were told yesterday is that it simply is too much money to maintain it, and also it needs a huge upgrade to keep in touch with the Network Rail, which would just cost too much money. So what they're doing is, well, they've leased already 2 new helicopters for the King to get around the country.
I find helicopters quite dangerous. Like, helicopters fall out of the sky on a fairly frequent basis, given how few people actually travel around in helicopters. I don't know. I'm just a little bit uncomfortable with that. I mean, they use helicopters a lot, but this is all an eco thing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's using sustainable aviation fuel as much as he can. He's also converting the state Bentleys to use biofuel as well. So King Charles is very, very excited about all of this. You can imagine.
Cameo about the royal train. We think that Prince Charles used to spend the odd evening in the train when it was in sidings with young ladies.
Oh, OK.
I'm one to gossip.
Well, I can't comment on that, Andrew, but of course it's an end of an era, isn't it? Because in 1997, we had Royal Yacht Britannia be decommissioned. Queen Elizabeth got very emotional. She was crying at that particular decommissioning ceremony. And then it will be exactly 30 years later that the beloved royal train is decommissioned in 2027.
Where is it? Do we know where it is?
We don't know where it is. All they will tell us is it costs a lot of money to store it. So that's one of the reasons why they're getting rid of it.
What are they going to do with it?
It's going to become a museum. Public display around the country. Yes.
I bet the decor's a bit naff.
Still to come, as the glorious sunshine beats down on Britain, we're going to be checking in with tennis fans at Wimbledon to see whether they can get their hands on centre court tickets. Don't go anywhere. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Planned maintenance affects the M9 westbound between Junction 3 and Junction 4. Proceed with caution and allow extra travel time. Diversions are between M4 Junction 29A, St Mellons and A48 M Pound Hill Overbridge. The M42 northbound in Solihull faces 30 minutes of congestion. Suffolk's A14 eastbound from Junction 54. Ipswich West to Junction 56 Ipswich Docks has 40-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast disruptions between Stoke-on-Trent and Macclesfield, and the Elizabeth line between Stratford and Shenfield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 1st of July. How did that happen? Live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Bev Turner and Andrew Pearce.
Well, it's crunch time for the Prime Minister. Up to 50 Labour MPs could vote against that welfare bill today.
Yes, the government expecting to scrape through on this, but how much damage has already been done to the Prime Minister's authority, and how on earth is Rachel Reeves going to pay for it?
So all this fuss about this band saying awful words on the stage, well, Director General Tim Davie was at Glastonbury when that band, Bob Vylan, chanted "Death, Death" to the IDF and left the performance online for 5 hours. Is his position tenable?
And more grim breaking news. 20,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel so far this year. That's up 50%.
Well, this is another gut-crunching blow for the Prime Minister, as just after 10 a.m. this morning, another 60 migrants arrived, taking us over that grim milestone of 20,000 migrants for the year so far.
And oh, they've got a lovely day for it. The taxi charity for military veterans are heading off to the coast to enjoy some good weather, and we're going to join them.
Well, they fought for our freedoms, but now hundreds of military veterans and taxis will be gathering here in Surrey before heading down to Sussex for a day by the seaside.
I know we shouldn't laugh, but thousands of Norwegians have had their dreams dashed. They'd been told they'd won in error huge sums of money. Ole Fredriksveen, who's on our screen, thought he'd won £90,000, only to be told a couple of days later it was only £9.
And it is going to be a scorcher. Parts of the UK today could hit 36 degrees, making Britain hotter than Barbados. We will find out what that is in Fahrenheit, Andrew, but it's definitely over 90. What is that queue like at Wimbledon? I bet they need some juice.
Oh, who wrote that?
Well, grab your Factor 50, grab your sunnies, because it is the hottest start to a Wimbledon yet.
I personally am delighted it's hot. It's the summer. That's what the summer's for.
If you watch all the other channels, they will tell you it's doom and gloom and you must stay at home. Not here. We like to celebrate when it's warm like this. You're not idiots. If you're too hot, you'll sit inside and close the curtains.
Of course you will.
And drink some water.
And I just say one thing, put your sunblock on.
Yes. Sunscreen.
Yeah.
It's all. Why
Whatever
not?
you call it, yeah.
Protect your skin, ladies. That's all. And men.
And then, factor 50.
Factor 50. Always a factor 50 on my face, even in the winter.
Me too.
GBNews.com/your say to let us know what you think this morning. We're going to have a look at your messages now while we take a quick news break with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 10 o'clock, the top story this hour. MPs are set to vote tonight on Labour's controversial welfare bill, with dozens of their own threatening to rebel despite last-minute concessions. The Conservatives say they'll oppose it, claiming it doesn't go far enough to curb rising benefits spending. Around 35 Labour MPs are now backing an amendment supported by disability charities, amid concerns over future cuts to PIP and universal credit. The government originally aimed to save £5 billion a year by 2030, but concessions have slashed that to £3 billion. Critics warn the changes could still push 150,000 people into poverty. Well, Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds says that the government's welfare proposals will give support to the people who need it the most.
People with the most significant disabilities who will not ever sort of get better, they won't be reassessed under this. They'll lose the stress of that and will be not wasting money doing that. But we will make sure that support is going to people who need it the most. I think that's really important. That's what I want to see from the system. That's why I asked colleagues to support it today.
More than 20,000 small boat migrants have now crossed the Channel so far this year. New figures show the milestone was passed at 2 a.m. this morning when a Border Force vessel carrying 60 people docked in Dover. 2 more boats arrived by 8 a.m, with several others still in the water. It means crossings are up 50% on this time last year. Another blow for Sir Keir Starmer as he marks 1 year in office. A new returns deal with France is expected next week, but critics say it won't stop the smugglers. Energy bills are falling for 21 million households across the UK, but experts warn they may not drop much more before winter. The typical monthly bill is down £11 under the new price cap, with gas and electricity rates both slightly reduced. But charities say the prices are still painfully high, with families budgeting tightly and turning to support schemes. Regulators are urging people to consider fixed deals, which could save around £200 a year. The Royal Train is being scrapped after a review found it no longer offers value for money, ending a tradition dating back to Queen Victoria. It comes as the monarchy's annual taxpayer funding holds steady at just over £86 million, the same as the last 3 years. That money covers palace upkeep, staff and public duties. Last year, royals carried out over 1,900 engagements and hosted 93,000 guests across more than 800 events. But critics say the system is outdated, with campaigners calling for the sovereign grant to be scrapped entirely. In the US, Elon Musk has reignited his feud with Donald Trump, warning the president's so-called Big Beautiful Bill would add $5 trillion to America's debt. The Tesla boss called it utterly insane and vowed to unseat Republicans who backed it, posting their faces online under the word liar. Donald Trump hit on Truth Social, claiming Musk owes his fortune to government subsidies and should head back home to South Africa. The pair previously clashed after Musk led a cost-cutting department that axed 120,000 federal jobs. He's now calling for a brand new political party, slamming both sides as the so-called Porky Pig Party. A girl has been rescued after falling overboard on a Disney cruise ship, with her father jumping in after her. The pair plunged from the 4th deck while a photo was being taken, according to witnesses. Both were pulled from the water within minutes by crew. The ship was returning from the Bahamas to Florida. Passengers described the rescue as crazy and horrific, with cheers erupting once they were confirmed safe. Excuse me, it's the heat. The parts of the UK could hit 36 degrees today as a scorching heatwave pushes temperatures even higher than Barbados and Jamaica. It follows a record-breaking start to Wimbledon, where highs of 33.1 were recorded yesterday. The UK Health Security Agency has now extended its amber heat health alert to more regions. Forecasters say the southeast will see the most intense heat, but showers could roll in across Wales and the north. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam. Now, you've all been getting in touch at home, and Mel has just said, morning, Mel. Did I hear Jonathan Reynolds correctly this morning? Those currently in receipt of disability benefits will not, under the new bill, be required to be reassessed. So if you have successfully conned the system, you're in luck. You're on it for life with no chance of being caught.
And on that, the Liz Kendall, the welfare secretary, who made a statement yesterday in which she made things worse, in my view, she said earlier when she was launching this bill, we've got to stop people taking the mick. So that means people are conning the system. Conning is going to continue. They're going to continue gaming the system.
If you are, seriously, if you are extremely disabled to the extent that you need care almost constantly in the day, you shouldn't have to be reassessed. You should never have to go through the humiliation of having to explain your disabilities over and over and over again. You shouldn't.
But also, they've got to stop this assessment done by phone. I think you need to see people face to face. You can, Taxpayers Alliance say today, some people have been getting PIP payments for severe acne. Hello, come on. I had bad acne when I was 18. I had to go to work and start my job on the Gloucestershire Echo with bad acne. I did not get any benefits, and I felt very self-conscious, but it was called part of growing up.
I'm trying to be charitable here and thinking, if your acne is so bad that you are utterly depressed and can't go to work, oh, no, I'm sorry, I can't make that work.
No.
Life is tough, but you are tougher. Remember this.
And
kids.
acne, normally, it's a transient thing, isn't it? You have it when you're young.
Yeah.
Get over it.
But it's also
and
the
writer's cramp.
But
that's the other one. Writer's cramp. What's that? What is it?
Do you not get a sore hand when you're writing those checks, Andrew? When you're using your checkbook?
I like my checkbook. I will not be deflected from it.
We clearly haven't got it right. We've got more and more people on disability benefits all the time. The big question is why? What is affecting those people? And hasn't Jeremy Hunt come out and said as well, one of the things that he now regrets is putting mental health on the same level as physical health?
He does.
Because that opened the floodgates, one might say, to changing the culture and the mentality around how we view our health.
And there's no other country in Europe that has seen the sharp upward arc that Britain's had in the last 5 years on benefits, and they're saying 1,000 people a day to Department of Welfare every day are going to sign on for PIPs every day for the next year. That is a city the size of Leicester.
Well, that is mad. That is a culture
and that's
that has
every
gone
year
wrong.
for the next 3 years. Bonkers. This is the Catherine Forces with Catherine. It's a mess, isn't it? Because I get why they're trying to crack down on welfare because the bill is soaring, but did they target the wrong bit first, going for the disabled?
Well, that's what lots of people are saying. Look, reforming welfare is never easy. The Conservatives didn't make much headway. If you look at the welfare bill, despite the $5 billion that they were going to cut, all right, half of that is now gone, it's still going up and up and up. It's currently about $65 billion a year on health, disability-related benefits. It's going up to $100 billion a year. Now, the government say it's unsustainable. The previous government say it's unsustainable. But here we are. But I do feel like the government have managed to get themselves into this horrendous mess when they could see this coming. A week ago, I was at NATO in The Hague with the Prime Minister. I was at the press conference where he referred to the rebels as noises
off.
What
a stupid thing to say.
And at the moment he said it, I think we all knew that was not going to go down well. So, yes, they've had to roll back on a lot of this. The people that are currently getting personal independence payments will not be affected. But now there's accusations that they're going to create a two-tier system because new claimants after the end of next year will be treated on a harsher criteria. And then there's this review that Stephen Timms is doing. So what will that mean? So could there even be 3 tiers? So we've already had the allegations of 2-tier care for various reasons. And now, you know, we've got Labour MPs absolutely furious. Yes, some of them have rowed back. Some of them think that the government have done enough, but many of them still very angry. Rachel Maskell has got another wrecking amendment. There's about 40 people have signed that. The government think it will go through. But first of all, the Prime Minister's credibility, authority, really damaged. I mean, three U-turns, questions over will he lead them into the next election, let alone win it. And meanwhile, Rachel Reeves has now got a big black hole, $2.5 billion from this, another billion or so from the winter fuel allowance U-turn. How on earth is this going to be paid for? Hold on to your hats, I would say, for tax rises come the autumn.
Absolutely, which would be a breach of the manifesto. And of course, they are talking about attacking cash ISAs, where you can put up to £20,000 in your cash ISA, tax-free. That they could cut that to £4,000. That's a tax rise.
Well, yeah.
I think that is a tax rise.
And I asked the Prime Minister last week in The Hague about how they were going to pay for the very big defence pledges, which are massive. And I said, you know, can you be level with our viewers how you're going to pay this? And he said, well, I can reassure your viewers that we are not going to increase taxes on working people. That was a manifesto pledge. But of course, many people would say it's a very narrow definition of taxes that working people pay, national insurance and income tax, because the NI rise on employers, you could easily argue it's working people and all the other taxes that working people pay. So
Who do they think they're kidding?
Yeah.
Catherine, thank you so much. She'll be back a little bit later, but some breaking news this morning. GB News can reveal, because I imagine the other channels won't tell you this, over 20,000 small boat migrants have arrived so far this year.
That's a whacking 50% more than at the same point last year. Let's speak to our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark.
Well, there's no doubt that this will make really grim reading in terms of those statistics for the Prime Minister as he marks this one-year anniversary this week of a Labour government coming into power, of course, with that avowed aim of smashing the gangs. Well, not only has he not smashed the gangs, they are reaching record levels. So at 2 a.m. this morning, we had a Border Force vessel enter Dover Harbour with another 60 migrants on board. That took us to more than 20,000 small boat migrants for the year so far. That's 50% up on where we were at this point last year. And in the hours since then, we've had another couple of Border Force vessels in with another 71 migrants. The Border Force vessel Volunteer is about 3 minutes away from Dover, and it has another load of migrants. Typhoon, another Border Force vessel, is out there, as is yet another Border Force vessel. So we are looking at about 6 or 7 small boats that have made it across today. Not only are we at 20,000, we'll be about 20,300. It just shows you how quickly this ticks up. Just yesterday morning, I was talking about us having passed 19,000, but with a bumper day again in the channel yesterday, it quickly got to 20,000. And what's important about this is we've just entered July now. These are the months where we're supposed to have the flat cam conditions, where we have very significant record numbers normally coming across in a single day. That will come July, August, September, even October. So who knows what the actual figure by the end of this year is going to be, but I think we are probably heading for record territories unless somehow that smashing the gangs promise comes to fruition, but I can't see it somehow.
Thank you, Mark. Mark White there bringing us the very latest on those migrant crossings. It is such a bad look for Keir Starmer.
Terrible, and it's going to get worse because he hasn't a clue what to do about it. Smash the gangs, Prime Minister, why don't you? Why didn't they give Rwanda a try? Because they were frightened it might have worked.
Almost like he's not bothered about it, isn't it? Now, today is the second day of Wimbledon after the hottest ever start to the competition yesterday, with temperatures reaching nearly 33 degrees Fahrenheit. I can tell you, Andrew Pearce, that is 91 degrees Fahrenheit.
Thank you. We should do it in Fahrenheit. A lot of people prefer Fahrenheit.
I agree. I still quite like a Fahrenheit.
I do.
So we have sent Adam Cherry to the home of strawberries. Here he is, GB News reporter Adam, down at Wimbledon. What are you hearing from the crowds there, Adam?
Well, honestly, I've never seen a queue like it. It's been going on for hours and hours. We've been speaking to people all morning. Some people queued overnight. Can you imagine, in this heat, they've been pitching up tents. I don't know how they do it. So we had a quick chat. This is what some of those people had to say. Take a listen.
Honestly, it is a little bit tricky, but I survived yesterday and I'm planning to survive today too.
Flipping boiling. These two are struggling. It's too hot. They came to that earlier. They were like, "Oh, got a heat stroke."
Yeah,
got a heat stroke.
we slept on the floor. Got it at 2. Had about what, half-hour nap?
Yeah,
pretty tired. The hottest it's ever been for me yet. It was ridiculous yesterday.
So Ollie behind the camera and I, we're doing all right. We've got some shade. Ollie's brought a fan. We've got plenty of water. So Andrew, Bev, don't worry about us. We're going to be okay. Although if I do melt, Ollie's going to come to us live and you can watch it all and enjoy yourselves. It's going to be the hottest Wimbledon, or it's already been the hottest Wimbledon since records began. 29.7 degrees in Kew Gardens. Today it feels like it's going to be even hotter. According to my advanced technology, it's already 27 degrees and it's only about 20 past 10. But you know what? It's Wimbledon, so I think everyone's going to have a good time.
Thanks very much, Adam. That's Adam Cherry at Wimbledon. Now, as the temperatures continue to soar, we've got the coolest cash prize of the summer. It is how much, Bev?
Totally tax-free, £54,321.
And unlike the Norwegian lottery, you will get £54,321. Unlike the Norwegian lottery, where that poor man thought he was getting £90,000 and he got 9.
Awful. We keep showing the picture of him sat on the beach. I do hope he didn't book that holiday.
Well,
he had
also, he probably
£90,000
took his family out for a lavish meal. Could have gone into a big restaurant.
It's not funny.
Not
funny.
I think it
Not
is.
funny. It's
I'm sorry, it is.
They all ended up with £9. They got text messages telling they had 90,000. Anyway, you could win that money and get the text message to tell you have won it. Here's all the details.
The Great British Giveaway is now even greater, with your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally tax-free £54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Imagine what you could do with that. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. Make sure you enter now.
Yes.
Up next, find out who is going to get priority for jobs in Wes Streeting's 10-year NHS plan. I think you'll be pleased with this, Andrew. Do you know the answer to this question?
I don't.
No. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
He might not be Health Secretary for 10 years, that's for sure. I'd lay money on that. Won't be his job.
We'll tell you in just a minute. Go on, quick.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Yeah, so I got the news on 4th of April, right in between GB Team Selection Series, which hurt even more because I was leading in the points. But all of a sudden, I get a phone call being told you're banned from attending any Pal UK premises, banned from speaking with your teammates or staff, which was the most brutal part of it, and suspended, or whatever word you want to use.
I think, though, Kurt, that, posting subscription-only saucy content online might get you in a little bit of trouble, or did it not cross your mind?
No, for sure. But I want to make it clear that I have tried things in the past. I've been living life on the edge so many years. We moved from Latvia in 2010, been living life on the edge since then, done everything from working freelance long into the long nights, working at the Amazon warehouse. I have seeked out other alternatives. But in December last year, I got to a point of realization where I thought, is it worth it, or can I find an alternative? And I knew of other GB athletes doing it. I didn't think it was going to cause outrage like this.
Yeah, because I was thinking, you know, a nice chap like you, who's obviously very talented with your sport, you could make some money doing, you know, like online fitness training or personal training and things like that don't involve, you know, getting your kit off.
No, for sure. I've been making content for like 6-7 years now. Over 1,000 of the pieces of content have been inspirational, motivational. I've visited over 30 schools in the UK, going to the hardest parts of the UK, inspiring kids from underprivileged backgrounds to get into sport. I've tried that, but I don't know. I found that in this day and age, unless you are smart or find some little controversial thing you can hold on to, it's going to be hard to get attention and sponsorship.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Bev and Andrew with you. Do we want to talk about this welfare vote today, or bored to death of that topic?
Well, I was just saying to Nigel, look, we love Nigel, don't we? And Nigel, your life must be so difficult because you are here as our lefty, you're a Labour Party supporter. This government is a total and utter shower. And this business with the welfare benefits, Keir Starmer admitting he hadn't found time to read the bill, didn't know what he was doing because he was in NATO, he was doing something else, he was distracted by something else. He didn't realise the strangers in a foreign land was in a speech which he hadn't read before. He's not up to it, mate. He can't do the job, and this welfare bill is a disaster.
Well,
just say yes, Nigel.
I was never in favour of the way they did it. I mean, the whole thing was this was a cost-cutting measure that was falsely dressed up as benefit reform. And what I think they should have done, and what they're now nudging towards doing, is look at benefit reform. It needs reform. I mean, it's costing a huge amount of money, so it needs to be reformed. But then you start deciding whether you can save money from that. And the kind of things you need to look at is the nation getting sicker? There's so many more people who are claiming benefits, but are we getting sicker? If we are, why? If not, are people being overdiagnosed by doctors? Are people shirking? But all that needs to be sorted out before to find out who the genuine people are. Then you decide on the benefit changes. Now, Liz Kendall yesterday in Parliament, she seemed to, I thought they were going in the right direction now with the Stephen Timms review.
Shouldn't they have done the review first?
Well, precisely. And then Liz Kendall then said, well, actually, we're bringing in this new point system for new claimants on time. Well, you have the review. The review should be deciding whether or not you do that, because otherwise you end up with a cliff edge where somebody on a certain day will be getting twice as much benefits as somebody the next day. And that's got to be sorted out.
Everything you say is, of course, true for a change, but...
For a change?
I'm going to first of all say this is so nuanced because I think people would feel more happy to have this conversation if we weren't spending so much on foreign people coming into our shores, being put up in hotels, costing us billions. So first of all, I'm going to set it against that. If our money wasn't going there, then people might be more happy to have this conversation, and they're not happy. And I take a lot of stick over this. But I said to Nigel, I gave an example at the weekend on this very show. There was a fantastic man on who had lost his leg below the knee when he was 2. He had a prosthetic. He was working full-time. He had a wife. He had children, and he played sport for GB. So he had made a success of his life despite tragedy. But the conversation revolved around him not getting his PIP anymore. And he was saying, but my leg will never grow back. And I thought about that. And I thought, you know, he has had a tragic circumstance. But he was probably earning more than the average salary. So why would he get any disability benefit at all? Why would the taxpayer fund his life when he's made a success of it? And I think it typifies that we have tipped over into a giving into the system nation, into a taking, where people expect to take, even when actually in reality They shouldn't. And we need to get people back to the point where they strive to succeed against adversity without the state's help.
And also, you're a GP, Renee. During COVID, you obviously had to do your surgeries online or on the phone. I still think it's staggering that most of these PIP assessments are done on the phone.
Of course.
On the phone. For God's sake, change it to face-to-face, because then you could see whether they are trying it on.
Yes, of course. But the thing is, even if you do see it, as I've said to Nigel, I see people who haven't worked for 10 years because they've got a sore shoulder. You know, I've got sore knees, sore shoulders, everything. But my attitude to working is very different to that person.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for a GP to say, well, actually, come on now. You know, do something else. If you can't do that painting and decorating job because of your shoulder, if that's what you're telling me, then do something else. These things are very hard to quantify, and people don't want confrontation. A GP doesn't want confrontation because then the relationship is broken. So I think the first thing they should do is take away sick notes from GPs, apart from if Nigel has flu and needs 2 weeks of work, that's fine. But after that, take it away. Give it to someone who's not connected.
Well, who would you give it to?
Well, I said to Nigel, perhaps there could be an exchange system within a borough so that when your patient wants a long-term fit note, they go to a neighbouring GP to do it who doesn't know them.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if the relationship's going to break down.
Because they can make a much more objective decision.
And those are the kind of things a review could have actually dealt with. I mean, what the doc there has said is that is a practical way of actually moving forward on this, and that's what a review should have done. Instead, Rachel Reeves wanted to cut £5 billion. She's now lost £2.5 billion of it, and we're still going to have some kind of review to sort the whole thing out.
Absolute disaster, Eric.
Let's move on to this NHS story. British doctors are going to be given priority for NHS jobs under plans to make the health service self-sufficient.
Whoopee. So I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, where I said that there were superb young doctors from Cambridge, first-class degrees, who were not getting a training job because they were going to foreign doctors. And I think what the government's plan is, they're going to change it from 2/3 of those training jobs going to foreign doctors to only one of those training jobs, you know, 10% of it going to foreign doctors. I'd say let's get away from any of them going to foreign doctors when there are unemployed, and there are unemployed GPs at the moment who cannot get work, and where there are trainee doctors who cannot get on a training post, so they have to just shuffle around in a hospital doing the dog's work, because that's what happens when you don't have a training post.
What is the logic behind the fact so many of the jobs were going to foreign doctors?
We don't know. Nigel and I were talking about this. I absolutely don't know. But the GMC last year, this is a fact, registered more new doctors from abroad than they did UK-trained doctors.
Well, which in fairness, I mean, that's what the Labour manifesto last year during the election campaign was trying to change. So the idea was that there were 7,500 training places in medical school. They doubled it to 15,000. Right. The expectation, although it wasn't explicit, the expectation was those would be British students who were doing it, not employing from abroad.
But why in the first... why? I don't understand.
No, I don't understand
that. Because we hear that all of our medics, or many of our medics, want to go and work overseas because it's just such a difficult job in the NHS. But hang on a minute. So therefore, which countries are they coming from that see the NHS as being
a lot
better?
of them are Indian trained. You know, we have a lot of Indian trained doctors. But there's something that used to go on. When I trained as a doctor, the way that you got your training job depended on how well you'd done in your exams. So if you came top, I did, so I only had to list 12 jobs in the country that I wanted, and I would have got one of those. But if you didn't do so well, you had to list 500 jobs, and you could be sent anywhere from Aberdeen to, you know, the Isle of Wight. And so there was an incentive there to do as well as you could at training school. That has now gone, because that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair on the doctors who didn't do so well in their exams. And now, any new doctor, regardless of how well they did, could be sent to Scotland or the Isle of Wight. Now, if you're a new doctor and you've got family, as I did, I had, you know, children here, a partner here, you may not be prepared to go that far. So then you might be tempted to go to Australia or New Zealand. But again, it's this, let's level out the playing field and make everything equal, and let's take away any reward for
And just
doing
very briefly, because of time, and some of the foreign doctors, I'm afraid, there are language issues. Because you struggle to understand what they're saying.
Not just
and that is a
doctors.
problem. And that is a real problem.
Growing increasingly tired of being served in shops, in opticians, in dentists, with people.
And you have to say 5 times, sorry, excuse me, and we feel embarrassed because we can't
I
understand
had
them.
to say to somebody on the phone yesterday, please slow down because I'm really struggling to understand you.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
We're all fine.
Particularly when it's in medicine.
Yeah.
Nigel, Renee, you will be back in the next hour. Let's take a quick 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 10:30, the top story. MPs will vote tonight on Labour's welfare reform bill. Dozens are threatening to rebel, even though the government has slashed its savings targets. Disability campaigners warn 150,000 people could fall into poverty. Energy bills drop £11 for 21 million households under Ofgem's new price cap, but experts warn they may rise again by winter. Charities are urging families to consider fixed deals. The royal train is gone. It's the end of the line for a tradition that began with Queen Victoria. Campaigners argue the £86 million sovereign grant is outdated and say the system needs to change. Elon Musk has slammed Donald Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, calling it utterly insane, and vowed to oust supporters. But the president's fired back, accusing Musk of owing his wealth to the government's subsidies. A girl has been rescued after plunging from a Disney cruise ship. Her father jumped in after her, and crew members saved them within minutes. And the heatwave continues here in the UK. Parts of the country could see 36 degrees today, hotter than Barbados. The southeast will bear the brunt with an amber heat health alert extended across more regions. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to... no, don't welcome back. We'll go in a minute. But former Olympian and world champion marathon runner Paula Radcliffe, she's a legend, and she's going to be joining us to talk about some research into how it's easier for women to take time off work to look after their kids than it is for the men. Does she have a point? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office, and now today's likely to be the peak in this heat wave across parts of the southeast, with temperatures a little bit hotter than yesterday, but it's not hot everywhere. There is a front lying across some central parts, and that's bringing a bit more cloud, even some outbreaks of rain across parts of northern England into Wales, also parts of the southwest maybe, and eastern Scotland. Further northwest of this, it's a bright picture through much of today, some decent sunny spells, more sunshine there across central, eastern, southern parts of England, and this is where we're going to get the highest temperatures. Some very humid air still across these areas, and so we're looking at temperatures peaking around 34, 35, possibly even 36 Celsius. A fair bit fresher than this towards the north and west, and where you get the cloud and the rain, it's going to feel fresher as well. As we go into this evening then, a bit of a damp end to the day across some central eastern parts of Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain possible. Could see some relatively high totals building up. Across western parts of Scotland, a brighter end to the day here, and similar across Northern Ireland. Some further heavy rain affecting the Borders area and the far north of England, and quite a bit of cloud across other parts of northern England into Wales as well, and some spots of rain, but towards the southeast, a fine picture as we go through this evening and the start of the night. But overnight, there will be some further rain across eastern parts, and some bursts of rain could push into some southeastern areas as well as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Further west, a drier picture with some clearer skies, and for many it's going to still be quite warm, but perhaps not quite as warm as it was last night, a little bit more comfortable across parts of the southeast. Then as we go through tomorrow, eastern areas having a bit more cloud and some further rain at times. This could be quite heavy, could even be a bit of thunder mixed in across eastern England, even the southeast seeing some heavy bursts. Elsewhere though, apart from a few scattered showers across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's looking mostly dry, but not as warm as it has been. Temperatures peaking in the mid-20s.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A96 westbound at Forres is restricted due to an incident causing delays. The A48M eastbound is closed for maintenance from M4 Junction 29 A St Mellons to A48 M Pound Hill Overbridge with diversions. Suffolk drivers face delays on the A14 eastbound between junction 54 and 56. In Kent, a lane is closed on the A2 westbound between the M2 and A227 due to a broken-down vehicle. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast is disrupted between Stoke-on-Trent and Macclesfield and Chiltern Railways 2 from London Marylebone. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev until midday.
Now, new research shows that 1 in 3 British mothers worry a lot about taking time off work to care for a sick child.
And one person who is a very well-known face and name has had first-hand experience of this, and it is former Olympian, world champion marathon runner Paula Radcliffe. Good morning, Paula, and also Protection Ambassador, Women in Protection Ambassador Phil Janes, both join us now. Right, Paula, what is this research telling us about the challenges for mums, particularly if you have a child who is unwell?
Well, what the research from MetLife shows us is that predominantly the burden when your child falls sick falls to the mum, and it's just that the child, I guess, is reaching out for that empathy, and 77% of them tend to want mum there versus 9% wanting dad there. So that burden is more likely falling to the mother, and that's why I think it is that research shows that around about 35% of women worry about kind of will they be able to let their career go and what the financial impact of that, to be able to focus on making sure that the child is okay. Because honestly, the first thing that you want to do when your child falls sick is spend that time with them. You can't, unfortunately, do the treatment for them and bear that pain for them. All you can do is kind of put your arm around them, be beside them, hold their hand through it and support them as much as possible. And psychologically, that's tough enough to go through without the financial worries alongside that. So
you had to do that, Paula. Your own daughter, Isla, got very rare ovarian cancer at 13. And what was the impact on you as a family and your earnings and your career?
Well, we basically chose, I'm the one who speaks French in the family as well, which was a big point for us. But honestly, I think there was never a question I would be the one alongside her in hospital. And so for that time, and as long as it takes, you kind of just drop everything career-wise and be there for them, because the most important thing for anyone, be it a father or a mother, is to be there with the child and to get them through it as well as possible. And that's why putting something in place like the Child Shield Plus from MetLife is so important, because it just takes that one worry away, because basically you're not focused on earnings, but there usually is another sibling at home. There still needs to be a home to be maintained. There are still mortgage payments going on. Those payments are still going out while you're just focusing on the day-to-day and whatever the doctors tell you need to do that day.
It's something, you don't think about, Phil, as a parent, because you don't want it to happen. It is every parent's worst nightmare. We would all say we would rather it was us in that hospital bed than our child. And therefore, we stick our heads in the sand, rather, don't we, about this issue. But you want people to be aware of what? Income protection, so particularly mums can be aware of just tackling this head on in the unfortunate event that something awful happens.
That's exactly right. We all know it's worrying enough raising kids, and they give you scares on a kind of daily basis at various points. So just taking away that, at least that financial worry, is something that we think more parents should be aware of and should consider. It's a real help. Not all situations are as severe as Isla and Paula's. They can be a little bit more prosaic, like just broken bones. I remember my youngest breaking his collarbone playing at school, and the phone call home, and he wanted mum. Mum was the one that had to take him to A&E and pay the parking and take the time off work. And just having that, at least the financial stress taking away, is something that we hope more parents can consider, and they can come to metlife.co.uk and find out more about our products. There are lots of others in the market as well.
It is an interesting. It is, like you say, it's not something, because we take out income protection. You might have that for yourself as a person, that you think about you getting ill. But what you want to raise awareness, therefore, is that parents are thinking about this in the awful event that it happens. Paula, how is Isla now? She's 18 years old. You must never stop worrying about her, I imagine.
That's true. And those psychological scars, I guess, kind of do live on, and you're a little bit hovering above them. I mean, she's now 18. She's going away to university in September. She's just gotten back from a trip away with her friends to celebrate the fact that they're finished with exams. So again, all of those things are times when you think they could pick up something, they could get hurt there, and you just want to make sure that that cover is in place for them. And yeah, we do kind of, I guess now, one of the big lessons that we've learned is small little things, take more notice of them sooner and get them checked out sooner.
And Paula, let me ask you a little bit, if we don't mind, while you're here. Women's sport. Just talk. We've got Emma Raducanu, who's on the front pages of all the papers this morning. You're a bit sick of talking about it, aren't you? Because you don't think she's very good.
No, I think she's good, but I think there's all these players who are ranked 700 in the world and beat a 20th seed. But people obsess about Emma Raducanu, who's had a lot of advantages you never had, Paula, when you were training in sport.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think sport for me was a vehicle for me to see how good I could be in my sport. And I think for so many of the youngsters getting into that, that's what it is. And it's really, really important, I think, particularly for girls, that they find a sport, an outlet that they can grow in, that they can genuinely see how good they can be at. And it does enable them to gain in confidence a lot. I think inside I have to admit I'm not really totally up to date with what's been in the papers this morning, coming in on that side of it. But I think female sport, female role models are important. I think sport for all is important.
And let me ask you this. You've done 4 Olympic Games. You've run marathons in the hottest of hot days all around the world. I was there in Athens when you were phenomenal. Sports days are getting cancelled this week because the weather's too hot, because apparently the children are all going to keel over and none of them are being taught to cope with the heat. What is your reaction to schools cancelling Sports Day, Paula Radcliffe, because the sun is out?
I think, to be honest, I think that's sad, because these children spend a lot of time looking forward to that. Not all children are strong academically at school, and some of them really, really focus on doing well in that sports day. So sometimes a little bit of flexibility, making sure that children hydrate very well, that they learn that lesson of how quickly the body will evaporate the water and how much you need to keep on top of that in terms of the salts and minerals. There's a bit of biology you can throw in there as well. Resting enough, hydrating, and maybe moving them to a cooler time of the day. As the sun starts to go down in the evening, you could hold your sports day in the evening. That flexibility enables those children to still have something that they've really looked forward to.
And Phil, you're saying your son broke his collarbone. You're obviously the kind of parent that wants the kids to get out there, surely, and get involved, even if it means you might end up with a broken collarbone.
Yeah, I think there's a balance, isn't there? So I'm involved in our local non-league football club, AFC Porchester. We've got a thriving youth section, both boys and girls. That's the fastest growing section, in fact, the girls. And yeah, bumps and scrapes are all part of learning, and as Paula says, learning about how to manage your energy and your body in extreme conditions when it's a bit hot, bit cold. But also, you've got to look after the teachers here as well. They don't want a class full of kids fainting in the midday heat. So, as Paula says, maybe finding a bit of balance and moving the timing around is the right way forward.
OK.
Fascinating.
Thank you both so much. So nice to see you. Paula Radcliffe there, and also Phil Janes from Women in Protection.
She's great, isn't she?
It's brilliant.
And her daughter's running marathons.
Yeah, I know, it's great. It's really great. I think, yeah, she's fantastic. Paula Radcliffe, she's just so famous. She's so recognisable, isn't she?
She really is. Now, up next, we're going to check in on the taxi charity for military veterans who are taking some of our bravest heroes for a beach trip today. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave continues across western and central parts of continental Europe, temperatures widely reaching the mid-30s, and this is likely to trigger some quite severe thunderstorms at times, particularly across Spain, northern parts of Italy, parts of Switzerland. This could bring some quite intense hail, frequent lightning and also some gusty winds. But across southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece, it should remain mostly settled. Plenty of intense sunshine continuing as we head into the weekend, and temperatures widely remaining in the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK. We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News. The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
10:50, we're going to go straight to Charlie Peters, who's with the black cab drivers who've been helping our veterans.
He's having a lovely day out, aren't you, Charlie? Where are you? What's happening?
Well, good morning, Bev and Andrew. Yes, this is a pretty good day to be on the job, to be honest. I'm down in South Holmwood in Surrey, where the taxi charity for military veterans are gathering hundreds of armed forces personnel, their families, all those veterans, some of them over 100 years old, stretching all the conflicts that Britain has been involved with since the 1940s, here in this village hall to send them down to Worthing in Sussex for a day on the seaside. And as you can see, it's an excellent atmosphere. People have just set off. We've got Chelsea pensioners, we've got veterans from all three services, many old regiments and some new as well. We've got veterans from recent conflicts in the Middle East as well. I'll just take you through to give you a bit of a sense of the atmosphere here. We can see people have been arriving since 8 a.m, enjoying some of the sort of traditional English picnic foods that are on offer. Just come through here, bunting everywhere, very patriotic and wonderful space that we've got. I'm looking for Colin Mills, who joins me here now. Colin, thank you very much for joining us. Now, why have you been organising this event? Why does this matter so much?
Oh, it's a tradition that's gone back since 1948. It originally set up as to take the veterans that were lost limbs and so forth for a day out for reality, to get some sort of normality so they could escape from London. So it was either 3 or 6 cab drivers down in Fulham that were in a pub and decided to do this, and since then it's just grown and grown and grown. And so obviously the first year, 1948, they took them, we're not sure whether it was Brighton or somewhere. We didn't go back there, and now they come here ever since. And they come via South Homewood, and the people here, they put this amazing spread and look after us and treat the veterans as they should be, as important people. Sorry, go on.
The whole village gets involved, Colin. We've seen people out here early this morning setting up, putting up the bunting. What is it about this village that makes this so special?
It's just a tradition, how welcoming they are, how they remember what the veterans have actually done for not only this country but the whole of Europe and the world, that they're respecting the, how can you put it, the essence of the military and what they've done. It's an amazing. It's very difficult to put it in words. That's all I can say.
Well, and it's going to be a beautiful image later with those taxis moving down. And it's not just Second World War veterans here, of course. There are veterans from conflicts as recent as Afghanistan gathering in the village hall today.
Yes, there's also from Korea and other veterans. They all come here. As the charity is trying to move forward, and obviously as the World War II veterans pass away, and they will pass away, and we all know that, and you speak to the veterans and they hear their stories and you know they're going to go, but it's we need to move on, and we mustn't forget that what these veterans are doing is a job. They're asked to do a job. They are not political at no time. They are asked to do this job, and so we must be thankful, thankful for these people, what they do for us.
Colin Mills, Chairman of the Tax Charity of Military Veterans, thank you so much for speaking to me this morning. And we're going to be heading off soon. I'll be in a cab in a moment with a veteran from the Second World War, Dorothea. You're going to love hearing from her in a moment, Bev and Andrew. But back to you.
How lovely. Well, send them all our love, Charlie. They're great people, and it's a great job those taxi drivers are doing, don't you think?
Fantastic.
It's a great charity.
For a long time.
Long time. Probably 15 years I've been supporting them through my friend Jan. Now, still ahead, growing questions over the BBC's pretty useless handling of the Glastonbury death chant. Pressure's growing on the Director-General, Tim Davie. But I'm telling you now, he isn't going anywhere. This is Britain's News from GBNews, and I don't think he should.
No, I don't either.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another hot day in store across parts of the south and southeast. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine, but elsewhere plenty of cloud and also some showery outbreaks, though these should clear fairly readily across Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, so a largely dry and bright day here. But elsewhere across Scotland, northern parts of England, parts of Wales, plenty more cloud, some showers at times where the odd one may be heavy. Perhaps we'll even hear the odd rumble of thunder into the afternoon. But elsewhere across central areas, parts of southeast England, wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to continue to feel hot. Temperatures widely reaching into the mid-30s once again, so there's going to be that muggy, uncomfortable feel to the air, particularly across London and parts of the southeast. To finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of cloud. That's away from the west, though, largely clear here and feeling a lot fresher too, with the winds starting to pick up too into the evening, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, largely dry and clear. But it's northern parts of England, still a chance across Wales. We could still see plenty of cloud, also some showers, and across Devon and Cornwall we'll start to see that cloud thickening up, creating more in the way of hazy sunshine. But for most of the night across the southeast, clear to start. Eventually we'll start to see that cloud thickening up as we head towards the early hours of the evening. Still a continued risk of showers across the far northeast, and we'll likely see a lot of mist and murk by the time we reach the morning. So quite a grotty start to the day. That's away from the west, though, largely fresher and clear here. And yes, it is going to be another warm start to the day. Not quite as warm as the morning before, but nevertheless, it is still set to be quite a warm day, particularly across the southeast, though temperatures are going to be down by a degree or two. So there is going to be that fresher feel in the air, though still a risk of showers, particularly across the west as we head later into the afternoon, but temperatures still widely in the mid-20s. So warm in the sunshine, but a much fresher feel as we head into the afternoon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Morning, it's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 1st of July, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Very good morning. So it is the day of that much-awaited welfare rebellion. It is crunch time for the Prime Minister. 50 Labour MPs are suspected to vote against him today with the welfare bill.
And some extraordinary breaking news just coming into us. 3 former members of the leadership team at the Countess of Chester Hospital have been arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. It follows the trial and subsequent conviction of the former nurse, Lucy Letby. More on that story.
Breaking news from GB News. We can tell you that 20,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel so far this year. The number is a record high and it continues to rise.
So watch out for your savings. The Chancellor is now eyeing slashing your annual tax-free cash cap in a cash ISA.
And the Royal Train, which has been used since 1869, is going to be scrapped in a cost-saving measure, and it's going to be replaced by 2 helicopters that use sustainable fuel.
The first time since Queen Victoria's reign we won't have a royal train. The entire public finances of the royal family for last year have now been published. I'll bring you the details shortly.
And the veterans are having a very nice day out. The taxi charity for military veterans is taking some of our heroes to the coast to enjoy the good weather.
Well, they fought for our freedoms and now, thankfully, they get a day on the seaside in this glorious hot weather. We'll be joining a military veteran in a taxi in just a moment.
And Andrew, you are no longer the hottest thing in Britain.
Who wrote that?
Not me. Parts of the UK could hit 36 degrees today. That's over 90 degrees. It's going to be hotter than Barbados. Make sure you enjoy it.
We obviously can't speculate on Lucy Letby, but you know there's been a growing campaign led by our great mate David Davis, Tory MP, who thinks Lucy Letby's conviction could turn out to be one of the worst miscarriages of justice in modern history.
I always said that about the Lucy Letby case, even when it wasn't really very sort of received very well to say
popular.
that. Because it was all incredibly circumstantial conviction, and I know a little bit what some of those maternity units and those neonatal units are like. And if it was possible to throw her under the bus, they would.
She's one of the few women in prison with a whole life sentence, meaning she never, ever is allowed out. Well, we'll bring you more on that story when we get it.
Let us know your thoughts this morning. And also, if you could have a day out today anywhere, Andrew, where would you go? If you left Britain's Newsroom, you went somewhere sunny for the day, you'd have a taxi, one of those taxis waiting for you.
I'd go to the seaside.
Which one?
For sure. Let's say Scarborough.
Oh, very nice. You'd go up north, would you?
I would.
Might be a bit cooler up there, but that's nice.
And I'd go for a swim.
Yeah. I'd probably, if I could just click my fingers and be there, I'd like to go to Jersey. Jersey has the best beaches. Or the Isle of Wight, also amazing beaches down at Seaview.
Which where they have the most sunshine in the country, they say.
North Devon, Croy Bay, Braunton, that sort of area.
What we're both saying is we ain't complaining about the lovely weather on this station, unlike some stations.
That's right, make the most of it. First though, quick news bulletin, Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 11 o'clock, let's start with an update then on that breaking news coming to us from Cheshire Police this hour, that 3 former hospital bosses have been arrested in connection with the Lucy Letby case. We understand they are being questioned on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. The 3 senior leaders were in charge at the Countess of Chester Hospital during 2015 and 2016. That, of course, while Letby, now jailed for murdering 7 babies, was working at that hospital. It follows a major police investigation into corporate manslaughter at the hospital. Police say all 3 suspects have now been released on bail as inquiries continue. We will, of course, keep across any developments on that case and bring you the very latest as it comes to us. In other news, MPs will vote tonight on Labour's controversial welfare reform bill, with dozens of their own threatening to rebel. That's despite last-minute concessions. The Conservatives say they will oppose it, claiming it doesn't go far enough to curb rising benefits spending. Around 35 Labour MPs are now backing an amendment supported by disability charities, amid concerns over future cuts to personal independence payments and universal credit. The government originally aimed to save £5 billion every year by 2030, but concessions have slashed that to now £3 billion. Critics warn the changes could still push 150,000 people into poverty. Well, Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds told us earlier this morning that the government's welfare proposals, he says, will give support to people who need it the most.
People with the most significant disabilities who will not ever sort of get better, they won't be reassessed under this. They'll lose the stress of that and will be not wasting money doing that. But we will make sure that support is going to people who need it the most. I think that's really important. That's what I want to see from the system. That's why I asked colleagues to support it today.
More than 20,000 small boat migrants have now crossed the Channel this year so far. New figures show the milestone was passed at 2 a.m. this morning when a vessel carrying 60 people arrived in Dover. 2 more boats arrived by 8 a.m. this morning, with several others still in the water. It means crossings are up 50% on this time last year. Another blow for the Prime Minister as he marks 1 year in office. A new returns deal with France is expected next week, but critics say it won't stop the smugglers. Energy bills are falling for 21 million households across the UK, but experts warn they may not drop much more before winter. The typical monthly bill is down £11 under Ofgem's new price cap, with gas and electricity rates both slightly reduced. But charities say prices are still painfully high, and families are budgeting tightly and turning to support schemes. Regulators are urging people to consider fixed deals, which could, they say, save around £200 a year. The Royal Train is being scrapped after a review found it no longer offers value for money, ending a tradition dating back to Queen Victoria. It comes as the monarchy's annual taxpayer funding holds steady at just over £86 million. That's the same as the last 3 years. The money covers palace upkeep, staff and public duties. Last year, royals carried out over 1,900 engagements and welcomed guests across more than 800 events. But critics say the system is outdated, with campaigners calling for the sovereign grant to be scrapped entirely. In the US, Elon Musk has reignited his feud with Donald Trump, warning the president's so-called Big Beautiful Bill would add $5 trillion to America's debt. The Tesla boss called it utterly insane and vowed to unseat Republicans who backed it, posting their faces online under the word liar. Donald Trump hit back, though, claiming Musk owes his fortune to government subsidies and should, quote, head back home to South Africa. The pair previously clashed after Musk led a cost-cutting department that axed 120,000 federal jobs. He's now calling for a brand new political party, slamming both sides as the Porky Pig Party. And parts of the UK could hit 36 degrees today as a scorching heat wave pushes temperatures even higher than Barbados and Jamaica. It follows a record-breaking start to Wimbledon, where highs of 33.1 were recorded yesterday. The UK Health Security Agency, though, has now extended its amber heat health alerts to more regions. Forecasters say the southeast will see the most intense heat today, but if you're in Wales or the north, showers could be coming your way. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour. Now, let's head back to Andrew and Bev.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back now for the dinosaurs among us, of which I'm happy to be part of a prehistoric park. 36 degrees is 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is a record in...
Lovely.
Yeah. So almost 100 degrees.
Lovely. Get out there, support your outdoor swimming pools. There's lots of Lidos all around the country. Get in the fresh air if you can. Do you know the only thing that is a bit tricky? Sleeping at night in this weather. Ooh. That was hard work last night. I was awake quite a lot of the night. It was very hot. We had all the windows open and it was absolutely boiling. Buy a fan. Yeah, I've got two fans. My girls had the fans. I sweated in the room on my own.
If we do reach... it would be hotter than 1976. That would be a record.
Good.
Yeah.
Listen, the temperatures change, the world gets warmer, the world gets colder. I'm not panicking about it. We just have to learn to live with it, which is why I'm so incensed about sports days being cancelled.
And in 1976, that's why I remember it so vividly. I'm just looking it up. The heatwave lasted for 15 consecutive days of temperatures of more than 89.6 degrees. And that's when I was at school, and that's when we were doing our mocks. It was a shocker. And they wouldn't even let you in the school hall to shelter from the sun.
Or they made you stay outside?
Yeah, of course they did. Get on with it.
That is why the next generation... That's why the youngsters today are all an absolute...
and there was no shade, 'cause there was no trees on the school playground or on the playing field.
And you just had to stay out there?
Yeah, you did.
Well, did you have sun cream on?
I'm sure we didn't.
Did you have a cap on? Possibly.
No, possibly.
They might have put a cap on you.
Yeah, and of course it was long-sleeve shirts, so you weren't burning, and we were in trousers. But, I mean, junior schools would have been the same. Just got on with it.
We wonder why we've got a generation of youngsters.
I know, snowflakes.
Cross-country gets cancelled when it's too cold. Sports day gets cancelled when it's too hot. What are we teaching the next generation? If it's bad weather, whatever your definition of is of that, then just stay at home and don't go out because you're weak, you're weak, you're weak. Sorry, I'm really cross about the whole sports day and sports competition things. Giving your kids the fans and you sweat the night away, says Sue, makes you a good parent. It made me a very hot parent, Sue, I can tell you that. GB Security Agency, what has the summer weather to do with them? Butt out. Barry, good point. Now, don't forget, during the pandemic, Public Health England morphed into the... what is it? The GB... it's now called the Health and Security Agency. That was it, the British Health and Security Agency. Why? Two separate issues.
On the tube yesterday, there was a message saying, if you're feeling unwell, get off the train. Oh, wouldn't have thought of that, would you? Carry water. Would never have thought of that.
There's announcements all the time on the tube.
It's relentless. Stop it.
Carry water, it says. Make sure you have some water.
And you go up the staircase, it says, hold on to the rail. I don't want to.
I can promise you, my dad is 88. And he would have never... He wouldn't even think now to go out with a bottle of water if he was going out for the day. He'd be like, if I'm thirsty, get a drink.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're glad you're with us to take the mickey out of other people who are lamenting this hot weather.
Now, moving on. The monarchy, which I adore, their financial year has ended. They cost us, apparently, a little over £86 million.
So the King has approved a plan to decommission the royal train by 2027. That, amongst other things, in this report. Cameron Walker is here to tell us more. Cameron.
Good morning. As Andrew said, worth just over £86 million last year, the sovereign grant, equivalent to £1.29 per person in the United Kingdom. But let's explain how it is funded. So the King owns the Crown Estate, a big portfolio of lands and property and the seabed around the United Kingdom worth over £1 billion. And those profits he surrenders back to the Treasury so the UK government can spend that money on what it likes, but it gives a percentage back to King Charles in the form of these sovereign grants to fund the official duties of the monarchy, so upkeep of royal palaces, paying their staff, official travel, and all the rest of it. And that goes back to the King. But of course, we have had all the juicy details over the last few hours, including the fact that the royal train is to be scrapped. It's going to cost too much money. But of course, some parts of the sovereign grant is not included in the report, and that includes things such as the security of the royal family, the policing of public events, of local governments putting out the crash barriers. All of that comes from your money, taxpayers' money, but is not included in the sovereign grant report, and those financial details remain secret as things stand. But in the last hour, we have seen King Charles and Queen Camilla land in the Palace of Holyrood House Gardens in a helicopter. Hopefully we have those pictures for you if you're watching on television. You can definitely hear it if you're listening on the radio. And this basically illustrates that they no longer need a royal train, Andrew and Bev, because 2 new helicopters have now been leased by the royal household, and at King Charles's insistence, they are running on sustainable aviation fuel. The weather doesn't look great in Scotland, to be honest, so they're not getting a heat wave. But I think it does illustrate that they want to be more efficient. The train costs too much money. It would need a huge upgrade to maintain it, which would just be ridiculous in terms of the public finances. So that's why the King has reluctantly decided to scrap it with the Prince of Wales's support.
It seems like a sensible decision.
Yeah, and it was the late Queen who loved it, particularly that train.
And it will be in a museum somewhere. People will be able to go and see it.
Yeah.
See where King Charles used to take his lady friends, according to Andrew's gossip.
No, I'm right about it. And they did miss a trick, because I do think Her Majesty should have been brought down from Scotland to London in that train.
Yeah.
So many people would have seen her.
Absolutely. I mean, and she was taken back in a plane when she passed away. She was taken back in a plane back to RAF Norfolk. But let's just quickly talk about the royal warrants as well, because the King has now made the Prince and Princess of Wales grantees of royal warrants, which means another boost to British businesses, because Prince William and Catherine will be able to award warrants to the companies who provided them with a personal service or product. So those who already have a previous Prince of Wales warrants can apply to keep it, and then next year new companies can apply to have one.
And this has changed because the late Queen had many warrants. These are products that are supplied to the royal household, to senior royals. So when she died, some of those warrants would have faded with her. Likewise, Prince Philip.
Absolutely, and some of them have indeed faded. Some have been kept by the King and Queen, and now it's Prince and Princess of Wales' turn to have
What was that amount per person, Cameron, did you say?
£1.29 per
Cheap
person.
at the price.
£1.29. Well, let us debate whether the royals are value for money. We are joined now by royal commentator Rafe Haydel-Mancu and CEO of Republic, Graham Smith. Graham, £1.29 per person, that is an absolute bargain. Why would we ever want to see the back of the royal family when they bring so much to this country?
Well, you could say that about anything. Any abuse of public money, any waste of public money could be dismissed by being, oh, well, it's just a few pence. Did we do that in 2009 when we had the MPs expenses scandal? What's it matter? It's only a few pence per person. Who cares? You know, the point is...
Hang on. Graham, that's not... Graham, so I want to jump in there. Graham, so I'm going to jump in there. That's not fair. The expenses scandal showed how the expenses were being abused by MPs, and there was no transparency, and as a result of the expenses scandal, the expenses were then published.
Which is the case with the royal household. The royal household is incredibly secretive. The actual cost is well over £500 million a year, not the £86 million that they claim. Unlike, contrary to what Cameron just said, the King does not own the Crown Estates, and the Crown Estates does not fund the monarchy. None of the funding comes from the Crown Estates, which is a state asset. It all comes from the government, and it adds up to well over £500 million a year. And a lot of that is because they are spending public money on their own private homes and travel. You know, those helicopter trips, which are incredibly expensive, they do that all the time, flitting from one of their homes to another, even when there's no official engagement for them to do. No, this is an extraordinarily expensive and wasteful institution, and it is because they are unaccountable, they are not transparent, and they are allowed to get away with it. And it is absolutely comparable to the MP's expenses scandal.
Rafe, why is Graham talking nonsense there?
That's for him to answer, not for me. Let's just say this. Look, the British monarchy is, of course, extremely good value for money. Remember, this is the 4th year in a row that the cost has stayed the same, despite all of the inflationary pressures that we've all experienced in this country, because the monarchy is acutely aware of being seen to have value for money. And of that £86 million, about 35 million of that is a temporary increase spent on the renovation of Buckingham Palace. Now, that would need to take place even if we didn't have a monarchy. The actual operating cost of the Sovereign Support Grant is about £51 million, which only comes round to about 77 pence per person in this country. It's actually cheaper than the cost of the Irish presidency per person, which is something that Graham always likes to talk about. That's a great value for money. The British monarchy is cheaper than the Italian or the German presidencies, for example, and the running costs of Buckingham Palace are 4 times cheaper than the Italian president's palace or the Quirinal. And if we got rid of our monarchy, as Italy and Germany did, we would still need to have a presidential palace, and of course we'd still need to have the constitutional roles and all the expense that goes with that as well.
Graham, do you want to? Graham, let me just Graham, just before we get bogged down there, do you want to live on a planet where every country is the same? Because that is where we're heading. A lack of national identity, open borders, come over here. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu. This is the world. If that's your vision, then explain to us. Because at the moment, the royal family is a massive part of our British identity.
Well, it's not. No. I mean, the point is that if you look at the opinion polls, the vast majority of people were not interested in the large royal events of the last decade. They simply aren't bothered. So it's not a huge part of our identity. And what I find, people like Rafe, who are, claim to be patriots and think that we're a wonderful country because we've got the monarchy, what they basically come down to is that actually we're a rubbish country. We're boring, we're grey, we've got nothing to offer unless we have this rich billionaire family dressing up in uniforms they don't earn and flying around in helicopters at huge expense. That is offensive. We are an amazing country. We are unique without the royal family. And the idea that by getting rid of the royal family will just be the same as everyone else is deeply offensive to the British people and the incredibly rich culture that we have. And, this is simply one family taking us all for a ride to the tune of £500 million. It's not cost effective. If you're going to go per person, it's per one person, the head of state. Why does the head of state in Ireland cost £5 million for one person to be head of state, and the head of state in Britain cost £500 million for one person to be head of state? Dividing it by every man, woman and child in the country simply is dishonest nonsense.
Rafe, very last word briefly to you.
Republicanism is the biggest political failure of modern times. Graham is, and I am long be dead. And the monarchy Graham, you've had your chance to talk. Please, thank you very much. Despite all of the attempts of republic over the decades, we've seen barely any blip in decline in support for the monarchy in this country.
Well, that's not true.
I'll tell you what, Graham, let me finish. Graham, let me finish. The point is here, the world's press and the world's eyeballs were not looking at the grandchildren of the German president getting married. The whole world was watching William and Kate get married, watching Harry and Meghan get married.
Well, that's not true either. The British monarchy is
a core part of our nation's identity, and they also make up the backbone of civil society. Their engagement with unsexy charities that would never get any public or media attention, soup kitchens, St. John's Ambulance, the Girl Guides. This is them playing a fundamental role in those things that create social cohesion in this country. And we don't have an annual Independence Day to celebrate every year like the Americans or the French. For us, it's the British monarchy and coronations, royal weddings, jubilees that provide those occasions for the nation to come together and forge our own national identity.
And yet only 9% were excited by the coronation.
Gentlemen, we're done. Gentlemen, we're done. Graham, you've had your say. Graham, you had to say. That's Rafe Hayder-Manku and the Chief Executive Republic, Graham Smith, who both made their case very well, I think.
It's just brilliant. I love that debate, because it is illogical. It's illogical. If somebody came up now and said, we're going to put this family of billionaires and they're going to have this divine right of kings, it would be illogical. However, it is what we have.
You know, the Queen... Did the Queen lead a lavish lifestyle? Where was her holiday? Balmoral.
Right. Well, I mean, she was still a billionaire.
Yeah, but it wasn't her, was it?
No. Well, anyway, it's a good debate. Let us know your thoughts. But up next, there's been a crackdown on those illegal Channel migrant delivery drivers bringing you a takeaway.
I bet they haven't been deported.
Probably not. And hopefully we won't be in this ad break. Back in a minute.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dormy, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Allergy practitioner Dr. Claire Anyamasigwe joins us now. Good to see you this morning.
Very good.
Does the hot weather necessarily mean more pollen?
It does. It actually accelerates the issue. So you've got pollen from the trees, from the grass, you've got pollution, and now you've got the heat wave as well. So that concoction flares up the skin, especially around the nostrils. We're streaming, we're sniffling, we're itching our eyes. So for me, as an allergist, my practice is about advocating for plant-based antihistamines. So I think the prep starts the night before. You're washing the clothes that you've worn the night, during the day, so you're not bringing pollen into the home. You are eating quercetin-rich ingredients like leeks, garlic, kale. So you can make yourself a lovely soup. I would say use them together. If you are somebody that already eats quercetin-rich foods in your diet, you're doing a more plant-based diet, then you're ahead of the game. But if you're not and you've suddenly been hit this week, 26 Celsius is going higher every day. 16 million of us are suffering with hay fever. 3.4 million of that have hay fever and asthma. So for those sufferers, they're looking for a solution right now. I would combine the two. I would start changing my diet to match what I've suggested, and I would also do what your GP suggests.
Do any of these things, if you take them year in, year out, do they lessen do they have an impact over time and you become less reactive to pollen?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I'm really advocating for children. If we can get parents watching this to start children with natural raw honey, so find out about your local beekeepers, start spreading your natural jams.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The pub.
Welcome back to the show. Renee Hundekamp and Nigel Nelson are with us in the studio. Right, let's crack on straight away with these stories, guys. Michelle, Nigel, shall we talk about BBC bosses left Glastonbury death chants on the live stream? Does it matter? Isn't that what free speech looks like? Music being anarchic and radical and, yes, at times hateful.
Not hateful. I think that all the rest of it, yes. I mean, certainly there is a free speech argument. Hate speech is not OK. I mean, it's against the law. Police now investigating, as they should. And certainly the BBC should have pulled that feed the moment that the chanting started. And the question seems to be, why didn't they? And initially, my thoughts were that there was somebody quite junior there with their finger on that button that would actually stop it. And it must have got a big thing for somebody to go and stop the live feed. But if Tim Davie was there, which seems to be the argument now, and he okayed it, there's a big question about did he?
I think it's all a question about the timing. Wasn't he there after it had happened, it was told what this ghastly
in which case
man
that's
has-
different.
Yes.
Then you
Because the
you
BBC
exempt
are
him
really,
from that,
the BBC
yeah.
are really pushing back very hard on this.
Oh, fine. Well, in which case, then, the question really is what kind of procedures are in place for somebody, the person who's got their finger on the trigger, to stop it? But quite clearly, it should have been stopped immediately.
Yeah, it should.
I don't agree. I'm sorry. I know that makes me controversial. I absolutely.
You think it's a
believe
free
that.
speech argument?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I think
we've got this idiot on stage. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
Don't give him more power than we've now given him. Everyone knows who he is. He now thinks he had all this power. You could sit me in a room for 3 days and shout in my face, death to the IDF, and I wouldn't go and kill an Israeli soldier.
But
so can we not get back to this idea of personal responsibility?
Can I throw a butt to you?
Yeah, you can.
That's fine. But if you're going to put Lucy Connolly in...
You've fallen into the trap.
No,
Ruben.
but it's true.
You've fallen into the trap.
No,
That's
no.
what you're meant to think.
It's not what I meant to think. Just apply the same rules to everyone. In reality, Lucy Connolly should never have gone to prison.
Correct. They should not be arrested for this.
Yes. Yes. So what they should do is release Lucy Connolly today, pay her compensation and wipe her crime, and then let everybody get on with it.
No, Nigel's saying it's a different crime.
Yeah,
but hang on,
I think
he was
the danger
inciting
here...
people to kill. She said, I couldn't care less if somebody burns down a hotel. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is they're different cases, they're in different situations.
And she did hers on a tweet, which was probably seen by about
the
5
danger is
people.
trying to compare like with like when something is different. So, I mean, Bev makes the point, this chap yelling about killing Israeli soldiers, would anyone pay any attention, which is the point you're making.
Ignore him.
With Lucy Connolly, she was putting out a tweet at a time when the country was really volatile. We were going through riots that could have ended up in someone being killed.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my
We have never... No,
sentence.
you can't use that argument when we have never had more anti-Semitic hate crime in this country. I live in a very Jewish area. I see it going on every day. We are at a very, very difficult time for Israel. Every single person of the age of 18 in Israel, every single Jewish person and Muslim, whoever lives in Israel, serves in the IDF. You can't have it every which way.
Yeah, but I
you
agree
can't
with
say
that.
this is different to that's different.
But
It's also a pretty difficult
the
time for
circumstances are different from
Palestinians.
those two events. A rap star at Glastonbury and Lucy Connolly tweeting, they are different crimes.
They are
and the danger is to actually compare them.
Just words,
They
both
are
of them.
just
But
I
would say for the Jewish community, we know that Jewish people are scared to go to central London on Saturday afternoons because of these vile marches. Of course, I support the freedom of speech, but have they not made their point? And then you get this cretin on stage singing "Death to IDF," singing anti-Semitic jokes
anyway, because
he's going to lose all his work.
He's going to lose all of his work.
Yeah.
He's going to get his punishment. He should be careful what he wishes for. And, you know, his audience was massive. He's had his moment in the spotlight. It's continuing. He's going to lose all of his work. Good.
It is
extraordinary. He won't, no, because he'll get all the downloads from all the pro-Palestinian people in their droves will flock to support him, and he will make more money than he's ever made.
It is weird, because apparently he's got form for this sort of behaviour. You'd have thought somebody at the BBC was watching a bit more carefully, but I suspect somebody was watching carefully, decided to let it go out.
I think it matches their general stance on this.
But if that's what they think it should be allowed to go out, make the case. Argue the point.
No, that's the point. Yeah, I mean,
they should argue the point.
If that is right,
because I can't believe there were 500 people working for the BBC at Glastonbury.
Let's make the BBC a subscription service, and then people can decide if they want to tune into that.
But if there were 500 people working at the BBC, was there nobody there who had a view on this? I suspect they took the decision. It was the right thing to do. They should stick by their guns.
Yeah.
Well, politics and the arts have always been intertwined, and I think long may that continue, personally. We are, just very quickly then, on a lighter note, strawberries are going up at Wimbledon, apparently, for the first time in 15 years. Why have they not gone up? They've gone up in my supermarket before the last 15 years.
I just don't care about the strawberries at Wimbledon. I mean, it sounds like quite a good price, actually, £2.50 to £2.70.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I feel the same way about that.
But how many strawberries? But how many strawberries you get in a punnet?
Probably two.
Yeah, exactly. 4. And do you get cream?
Yes. Yes.
Strawberries and cream.
You get cream.
So you should.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Right.
And they're queuing? They're queuing around the block?
Queuing like they've never queued before.
No,
I mean, has anyone died yet in the queue?
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? In that terrible heat, how are they going to cope? How are they going to cope?
I had an argument this morning at the school because they want Alice to wear a hat. She wants to wear bunches. You can't wear a hat and bunches. And I said, you know, when I was at school, we had the summer of 70.
I was just talking about that.
We didn't have
It was the
hats.
summer of 76. We had 15 continuous days of temperatures of 90 degrees.
Yes.
And we were on our playing field at lunchtime, and they said, what do you mean you're going in the school hall? You're staying on the playing field. And that's what we did. And we got on with it.
No one died.
No one died.
Renee, Nigel, thank you so much. Let's get a quick 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 11:30, the top story this hour. 3 former hospital bosses have been arrested in connection with the Lucy Letby case. They're being questioned on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. Police say all 3 have now been released on bail as inquiries continue. MPs will vote tonight on Labour's welfare reform bill. Dozens are threatening to rebel, even though the government slashed its savings targets. Disability campaigners warn 150,000 people could fall into poverty. Energy bills have dropped £11 for 21 million households under Ofgem's new price cap today, but experts warn they may rise again by winter. Charities are urging families to consider fixed deals. The Royal Train is gone, the end of the line for a tradition that began with Queen Victoria. Campaigners argue the £86 million sovereign grant is outdated and say the system needs to change. Elon Musk has slammed Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, calling it utterly insane. But the president's fired back, accusing Musk of owing his wealth to government subsidies. And the heatwave continues as parts of the UK could see 36 degrees today. That's hotter than Barbados. The southeast will bear the brunt with an amber heat health alert extended across more regions. 36 is good, but I'd still rather be in Barbados. That's the latest from the newsroom for now.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Up at noon, good afternoon, Britain. It's Tom and Nana today. What's on the show, Tom?
Well, there is so much. Nana will be here in just a moment's time, but there will be so much, of course, to do with what the government is going through today. A huge amount of consternation over this big rebellion on the disability benefit vote. But I think we need to row back a little bit and just see what we're actually talking about here. I hope you won't mind if I just get out some numbers that I've got with me.
Oh, go on, Tom. We're on the edge of our seat. We love your numbers.
OK, look at this. The number of people claiming PIP for autism in 2019 was just over 26,000. Now it's 114,000. For obesity, yes, you can claim for obesity.
What?
2,000 people in 2019, now 11,000 people claiming PIP because they're fat. ADHD, 4,000 people in 2019, now 37,000 people claiming for ADHD. And anxiety and depression, 23,000 in 2019, 110,000 today. These are the numbers we're talking about. This is the extraordinary rise in the number of people that have been claiming these benefits. And I think this gets lost in all of the...
Your numbers were brilliant, actually. They're the best numbers you've ever bought me.
And Tom, these are the people Liz Kendall referred to. We're not saying these specifically, but when this bill was coming forward early in the year, she said, we've got to stop people, her words, taking the mick. Some of those people are taking the mick.
I refuse to believe that the 10 or 11,000 people claiming personal independence payments simply for being fat. I can't believe that we're giving them money for that. Give them Ozempic instead.
Yeah, it's because they'll say they can't wash certain parts of their body.
Yeah.
That's what that's about.
And if you're just having your lunch...
Yes, which Tom is, by the way.
But we should also say that because there's been a partial U-turn on all of this, and so much money is now being spent on these benefits that very few people claimed even 5 years ago. Because of that, Rachel Reeves is now digging around for more taxes. We're going to have a money expert in here to see which taxes might Rachel Reeves pinch in the autumn.
And if they slash the cash ISA from 20,000 to 40,000, that's a tax rise in my view.
That's a massive tax rise.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't have been able to buy my house if they'd have done that.
Yeah.
There we
OK,
are.
Tom and Nana will be here from midday, but still to come this morning, we're going to be hearing from a World War II veteran as the taxi charity for military vets are taking some of our heroes to the beach to enjoy this marvellous weather. Don't go anywhere. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office, and now today's likely to be the peak in this heat wave across parts of the southeast, with temperatures a little bit hotter than yesterday, but it's not hot everywhere. There is a front lying across some central parts, and that's bringing a bit more cloud, even some outbreaks of rain across parts of northern England into Wales, also parts of the southwest maybe, and eastern Scotland. Further northwest of this, it's a bright picture through much of today, some decent sunny spells, more sunshine there across central, eastern, southern parts of England, and this is where we're going to get the highest temperatures. Some very humid air still across these areas, and so we're looking at temperatures peaking around 34, 35, possibly even 36 Celsius. A fair bit fresher than this towards the north and west, and where you get the cloud and the rain, it's going to feel fresher as well. As we go into this evening then, a bit of a damp end to the day across some central eastern parts of Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain possible. Could see some relatively high totals building up. Across western parts of Scotland, a brighter end to the day here, and similar across Northern Ireland. Some further heavy rain affecting the Borders area and the far north of England, and quite a bit of cloud across other parts of northern England into Wales as well, and some spots of rain, but towards the southeast, a fine picture as we go through this evening and the start of the night. But overnight, there will be some further rain across eastern parts, and some bursts of rain could push into some southeastern areas as well as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Further west, a drier picture with some clearer skies, and for many it's going to still be quite warm, but perhaps not quite as warm as it was last night, a little bit more comfortable across parts of the southeast. Then as we go through tomorrow, eastern areas having a bit more cloud and some further rain at times. This could be quite heavy, could even be a bit of thunder mixed in across eastern England, even the southeast seeing some heavy bursts. Elsewhere though, apart from a few scattered showers across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's looking mostly dry, but not as warm as it has been, temperatures peaking in the mid-20s.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 11:39, Britain's News on GB News with Andrew and Bev.
So a reminder of this breaking news this morning. 3 former members of the senior leadership team at the Countess of Chester Hospital have been arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter.
It follows, of course, the trial and subsequent conviction for a whole life sentence of Lucy Letby, which led the force to begin an investigation into corporate manslaughter at that same hospital.
So police say that all 3 have been released on bail as inquiries continue. The arrests have no bearing on the conviction of Lucy Letby for multiple offences or murder and attempted murder.
Because, of course, there are some people like David Davis, the MP, who are campaigning because they say the conviction is unsafe. Well, let's talk to the barrister, Francis Hoare. Francis, what do we appreciate if people have been arrested, charged, we have to be careful what we can say, but what is the background to this?
Morning, Andrew and Bev. The background is that, of course, Lucy Letby was convicted recently of many murders. It's a controversial conviction. It's been to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal have upheld the conviction. But a number of experts, statistician experts and others, have questioned it. That is a matter that's not going through the courts exactly, but is being considered by the Criminal Cases Review Commission, which has the right to refer it back to the Court of Appeal, which would be her avenue to appeal against that conviction, potentially with new evidence. In the meantime, the government announced an inquiry led by a retired judge, I think, called Thirlwell, known as the Thirlwell Inquiry, and that is investigating on the basis that Lucy Letby did kill these individual babies, which might be seen as a controversial decision by the government, given that there are so many questions that perhaps need to be answered in advance, including whether or not Miss Letby actually was guilty of murder. That's obviously a matter for the government, whether it does that, and for the inquiry, whether or not it assumes that guilt, because, of course, that will have a bearing upon its findings. These arrests are brought under what's called corporate manslaughter, or possibly gross negligence manslaughter. They're two separate offences but related. Individuals can be guilty of gross negligence manslaughter if, as it says on the tin, they're grossly negligent and they are aware that a result of their gross negligence could be the death of a person. That can involve, for example, classically, a yacht master who is grossly negligent in the way that he manages his yacht and it capsizes. There have been convictions in the past for that. Also, people in senior management in organisations that take decisions that can lead to death. It's not clear whether this is on the basis of corporate decisions within the organisation or directly relating to allowing Lucy Letby to continue, for example. I'm not meaning to speculate, I'm just saying it is not clear what these arrests are about and why they've been made.
Fascinating,
Really
Francis.
is.
Thank you. It was a really clear explanation, actually, of what is quite a complicated situation. Barrister Francis Hoare there. Right, Andrew, have you got your Factor 50 on?
I wear it in the winter.
Oh.
I've got some great mates who say the only way to protect your skin on your face is Factor 50 all year round.
I do that too. Is it one of your great mates, Joan Collins?
She's never been sunburnt in her life, which is why one of the many reasons she's got great skin.
Yeah, she does.
Sensational skin.
Right, if you are going abroad, lucky you. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? I mean, I love the weather, but it'd be even nicer. Lay by a pool with a cold drink in your hand.
I'm going in a week's time.
Oh, very nice. Let's have a look at what the weather's like in Europe.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave continues across western and central parts of continental Europe, temperatures widely reaching the mid-30s, and this is likely to trigger some quite severe thunderstorms at times, particularly across Spain, northern parts of Italy, parts of Switzerland. This could bring some quite intense hail, frequent lightning and also some gusty winds. But across southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece, it should remain mostly settled. Plenty of intense sunshine continuing as we head into the weekend, and temperatures widely remaining in the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
As the temperatures continue to soar, and we love it here, we have got the coolest cash prize of the summer to be won.
And it's £54,321, all for yours. And if you win it, you're not going to get a phone call like you did in Norway with the Norwegian lottery saying, sorry, it's not £54,321, it's 54 pence. That's those poor people in Norway. They thought they were 90,000, they got £9. But this is a genuine giveaway, £54,321. It could be all yours. Here's the details.
The Great British Giveaway is now even greater, with your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally tax-free £54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Imagine what you could do with that. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Send us your ideas of how to stay cool in this weather. Helen has said, put cold water in hot water bottles, leave them in the bed before bedtime. Lovely. Like that idea, Helen.
Very nice idea.
It's only the nights are a bit of a pain, aren't they? The days are wonderful, especially when you can go to Wimbledon. Adam Cherry is there, our GB News reporter. But there's a lot of people there, Adam, who've been stood out in the sun queuing because they love tennis.
There's a lot of people queue. Sorry, yeah, I've just someone I know has just tried to heckle us from the queue. Very unprofessional of them. Yeah, it's moving quickly now. Some people have been here since like 2 o'clock in the morning, pitching tents overnight. We've been here since what, about 8 or 9? So you know, I'm about 20% roasted, like a piece of roast ham. But we're doing okay. Now, actually, speaking of the conversations we had earlier, we did chat to some people about an hour or two ago as they headed into the court, and this is what they had to say to us.
Honestly, it is a little bit tricky, but I survived yesterday and I'm planning to survive today too.
Flipping boiling. These two are struggling. Too hot. They came to that earlier, they were like, oh, got heat stroke, got heat stroke.
We slept on the floor, got at 2. Had about, what, half hour nap?
Yeah.
Pretty tired. The hottest it's ever been for me yet. It was ridiculous yesterday.
So this is the hottest Wimbledon on record. I think today already it's hit 30 degrees. You can feel it, but everyone's, you know, they're not overheating. Everyone's excited to head in. We'll be bringing you the latest throughout the afternoon, guys, so stay tuned.
What's the big matches today, Adam? Who's everybody looking forward to seeing?
Well, I think the the person they are most excited to see is Carlos Alcaraz. But to be honest, Bev, I'm not the biggest expert in tennis, so beyond that, it's way over my head. Okay. I'm here to report on the 30-degree heat and try and survive
Adam.
the sunshine.
Thanks. They won't be seeing Carlos Alcaraz today, of course, because he played yesterday. But there we are. Swat up on your tennis, Adam. Nice to see you.
What do I know?
Should we have a look what you've been saying at home? Met a lady in her 40s in Turkey, says Shirley. Happy, had a few drinks. She said she was in Tenerife in March and Goa in January, and she's now in Turkey. She's going home this week. I asked what job she did in the UK, and she whispered, I'm on benefits. And I said, she looks healthy. What was the problem? She said, I get depressed.
Well, we saw those figures that Tom brought in. Massive, dramatic increase in people with anxiety and depression claiming PIP.
Oh, it makes me so cross.
And there's been a huge increase in the number of people claiming PIP who've got acne. Hello?
Well, the thing is, genuinely, if you are at home and you are disabled and you are unable to work because your disability is so bad, then that you are absolutely the people who the state should be.
But if you're depressed and anxious, a good way to get out of it is go to work. It will improve your mental outlook.
It's just
a job helps because you have a routine. You're not at home staring at the walls.
Says John. John says, I've got Ribena diluted in a pint plastic cup in the freezer into one big giant ice cube, and I use the ice packs. I tie a piece of string around it and sit it in front of the fan and put a tea towel on the floor. But don't make sure there's non-dripping, as the ice is within the ice pack, not on the outside. Then it'll give you cool air being blown from your fan.
Quite complicated.
John, I've got quite an image in my head. I presume you're doing that wearing very little clothing as well, but thank you for that insight.
Too much detail.
Brenda says, Bev, it's only words. Is that what everyone thought when Hitler was shouting death to the Jews? No, because he wasn't on a stage in Glastonbury. It's very, very different. Is Bev going to America? The sooner she's gone, the better. Thank you, Brenda.
There'll be a lot of that.
I bet Brenda didn't think I'd read that out. Did you, Brenda? Thank you, love. Grumpy Grandad says...
I packed her case. I packed it for her already.
For the hot weather, keep a pack of baby wipes in the fridge. I can hear you laughing as well, Sam Francis. And if you do get too hot, soak your hands and wrists. Oh, maybe it's Tom. In cold water, it will bring your temperature down quickly. Yep, I like that as well.
That's what I do. I just drink lots of water. Rocket science.
It's not rocket science, is it? I know the nights are quite difficult, but actually, the days are...
Yeah, and if you're warm in the evening, I always find vodka and tonic helps.
No, do you know what? The one thing I will say is I do not encourage a lot of heavy drinking in the hot weather, because then you can really come to some harm. If you can have one. Of course you can. Absolutely. I sat in the garden last night. I had the kids' tea in the oven, and I just thought, I've got 5 minutes, and I poured myself a nice little white glass of white, and I sat in the garden and just listened to the birds. No phone, no voice.
And then she finished off the bottle, and the kids' tea was burnt offerings. You think I'm joking? What happens?
Brenda, have a lovely day. You'll be glad to know I'm back tomorrow morning at 9:30.
That's it from Britain's Newsroom. Up next, they're here. Tom and Nana. See you tomorrow.
Well, today's the day we expose just how many people are claiming just how much money for what you might consider to be ailments that really don't deserve it.
And also, Tim Davie, does he need to go? Oh, how about Lorna Clark? She works slightly underneath him. I think she was in charge that day. Is it time for the BBC to sack Tim Davie?
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another hot day in store across parts of the south and southeast. That's where we'll see the best of the sunshine, but elsewhere plenty of cloud and also some showery outbreaks, though these should clear fairly readily across Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, so a largely dry and bright day here. But elsewhere across Scotland, northern parts of England, parts of Wales, plenty more cloud, some showers at times where the odd one may be heavy. Perhaps we'll even hear the odd rumble of thunder into the afternoon. But elsewhere across central areas, parts of southeast England, wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to continue to feel hot. Temperatures widely reaching into the mid-30s once again, so there's going to be that muggy, uncomfortable feel to the air, particularly across London and parts of the southeast. To finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of cloud. That's away from the west, though, largely clear here and feeling a lot fresher too, with the winds starting to pick up too into the evening, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, largely dry and clear. But it's northern parts of England, still a chance across Wales. We could still see plenty of cloud, also some showers, and across Devon and Cornwall we'll start to see that cloud thickening up, creating more in the way of hazy sunshine. But for most of the night across the southeast, clear to start. Eventually we'll start to see that cloud thickening up as we head towards the early hours of the evening. Still a continued risk of showers across the far northeast, and we'll likely see a lot of mist and murk by the time we reach the morning. So quite a grotty start to the day. That's away from the west, though, largely fresher and clear here. And yes, it is going to be another warm start to the day. Not quite as warm as the morning before, but nevertheless, it is still set to be quite a warm day, particularly across the southeast, though temperatures are going to be down by a degree or two. So there is going to be that fresher feel in the air. There's still a risk of showers, particularly across the west as we head later into the afternoon, but temperatures still widely in the mid-20s. So warm in the sunshine, but a much fresher feel as we head into the afternoon.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain. So he can say whatever he wants. A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air